Welcome to the podcast. Thank you for being on. How are you doing?
Good to be here, man. Doing well. It's another week, another day in New York City, which has been a crazy time for the past God knows how long. But yeah, we're doing okay, best we can.
I know. We've been locked down, but I see you innovating and pushing the barriers as a creator, which is why I wanted to have you on today, specifically because you recently launched SHANK token. So we'll be diving in on that. But before we get more towards the currency side, I'd love to kind of get your background. Tell me a little bit about yourself. What's your background?
What's my background? Well, I have a weird one. I started my career at America Online. I founded the newsroom back in 1995 when AOL was the internet, and did that for a few years. Sort of ahead of the game, ahead of the time, as it were. Moved back to New York City. Back in '97, I guess, and started one of the first PR firms that catered to the dot-com boom. Had no idea what I was doing. I was 20 something years old. I don't know. I just, figured this might be fun. And we had God, 10, 15 clients, rep Napster and Juno, and just, it was crazy times. A lot of fun. Sold the majority of the agency back in 2001, kept the name. Decided to take a year off, booked a flight to Asia. 2 weeks in, I booked a flight back home, called my mother from the airport. I said, I'm coming home. She goes, why? What happened? You're supposed to stay here. I'm like, you never taught me how to relax. And I slammed down the phone. So came back home, consulted for several years, eventually wound up creating something called Help a Reporter Out, or HARO. And HARO sort of changed how journalists and sources found each other. It was sort of an immediate blow up. In about just under 3 years, it went from launching to being acquired by PR Newswire, and it was pretty crazy time. So that was 2008, 2007 to like 2010. It actually got acquired. 11 years ago this year, or this week.
Wow.
So yeah, it's crazy how fast that happened. But no, it's good stuff. And so that was, I sold that company, and then started speaking, consulting, and still doing mostly that. It's been a weird year and a half with COVID, but mostly speaking, consulting, traveling around the world, consulting to brands on both customer experience, customer service, as well as neurodiversity, the concept that different brained individuals are going to be responsible for more and more of the benefits and of your company, and as well as both from a hiring perspective as well as a customer's perspective. So you have to sort of understand the different brains. So ADD, ADHD, autism, spectrum, executive function, things like that. So I've written several books, most on customer service and PR, but my most recent one was called Faster Than Normal, which focuses on ADHD as a gift, not a curse. And it's also the number one podcast on ADHD online called Faster Than Normal, same name. And we've had everyone from Tony Robbins to Keith Crouch of DocuSign to Seth Godin to the band Shinedown, politicians, authors, porn stars, you name it, all on this podcast about talking about how they use their ADD and ADHD to their advantage. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. I'm very fortunate. I'm having a really good time, and here I am.
Here you are. So what was that process like of getting acquired? That was a 3-year type of project company you were building out, and then one of the largest, if not the largest, PR companies came in and took you guys up. What was that process like?
It was pretty crazy. The company sort of came in out of the blue. They were our largest advertiser, and they were basically like, "Why aren't we continuing to advertise from you? Why don't we just buy you?" I'm like, well, shit. Okay, that could work. Sort of out of the blue type thing, but it was it worked really well, and it became an incredible experience for me going through it. I always joke it took about 4 months. If we didn't have lawyers, it would take about 4 hours. But that's why I have lawyers, I guess.
There you go. So kind of jumping more down your crypto route, because you're very unique in where you're at right now, because you recently launched Shank on Rally, and many people have been talking about doing their own cryptocurrency, but very little have actually kind of followed through with it. You've been one of the first few to kind of go towards that route, and hence why you're here today. And I'm curious, how long have you been dabbling with crypto for?
Well, So this is always a fun story. I bought my first 10 Bitcoin at about $94 a piece. And I sold them at $1,004 a piece.
Ah.
I've since more or less gotten over that. I really haven't. Look, I made money, right? I made what, almost 10 grand. So that's cool. But yeah, that hurt a little bit. But look, it hurts a lot less now seeing the price of crypto now versus what it was, I guess a month ago. But yeah, I am always into interesting things. My whole premise is if it's something exciting and interesting, it can't hurt to put a few $100 into it if you have it and see what happens. What's the worst thing to happen? It's like play money, right? It's the premise that you're probably going to blow that money on something else. You blow it on drinks or night out or whatever. So you blow it here and worst case scenario, it has a really nice return. I mean, I started buying Litecoin at $5 and I get out of Litecoin entirely in a couple of hundred, but it was still like what a nice hit, right? So the premise is I think a lot of that comes from ADHD as well. Just the belief that what the heck, right? What's the worst that can happen, right? And so I tend to live my life along the premise of what's the worst that can happen, which is ironic because I'm a skydiver. But I do enjoy. You need to stop chewing on the window. I'm not even joking. I will kick you out. I will throw you out of the window. I have a 9-month-old dog who has decided that his new fun is chewing on the windows. So this is Waffle,
cute.
And Waffle needs to stop chewing on the window. Stop chewing on the windows. But he's a good boy. Sit down. Here, go get that. So, yeah, I was always a cat guy, and then my last cat passed away, and my daughter's like, I want a dog. I'm like, we're not getting a dog. And of course, every dad who says they're not getting a dog winds up with a dog. So here we are. But yeah, I mean, I like experimenting. There's something called Earth 2 that I'm playing with right now, which is sort of like you can purchase quote unquote land, virtual land above real places, right? So it's earth2.io. And so I own the apartment building in which I live, right? And I own the apartment building in which my parents live a few blocks away in Midtown. And it's gone up, I don't know, 50% in value since I bought it. Of course, now I have to figure out how to sell it, right? And so I look at these things. I figure that one day, in like 15 years, when I'm like, I don't know, 64 or something, I'll hire someone to just investigate my entire life and find out where I put all this money, in what shit I put all this money, and he'll come back and be like, well, okay, so here's some money that was, you made some money on this and you didn't. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff out there. I just figure, again, it's one of those things that you never know, right? I remember right before when Peloton went public, right before lockdown, I've been a Peloton junkie for years. I love my bike. And I'm like, I want to get on this Peloton train. I started buying Peloton. And just because I know how much it does for me, right? And how much it helps my brain. And of course, they were getting, they're overvalued, did this, that. And then COVID hit, right? And I'm like, when I saw COVID hit and I saw people, wow, they're closing Equinox. I can't go to the gym anymore. I'm going to buy some more Peloton stock. And it's done very, very well. So it's, at the end of the day, for me, it comes down to, is this interesting? It's a different, I don't know if it's the same strategy as most investors. I think it's the same strategy as Warren Buffett, where he's like, yeah, I like this company. I use their product. I'm the same way. I'm like, this is interesting to me. Let's see what happens. Right.
So when you're approaching, like, what's the worst thing that can happen with social tokens, your worst case scenario, because you kind of use that as your strategy, explaining your thought process, how you approach things. When you were kind of dabbling or getting more down the rabbit hole for quote unquote social tokens, what was that worst case scenario for you?
The worst case scenario for me was, okay, this turns out to be ridiculous. No one buys it, and it was fun. I mean, it didn't cost me a lot of money, right? It wasn't, Rally picked 110, I think, influencers. I hate that term with a passion. 110 like creators, whatever we're gonna call them, and gave us these tokens and said, go play with them, talk to your audience about them, help us build this brand. And so to be able to watch it has been really exciting and really sort of fascinating to see how it, what are the things that I'm doing that affect it? What are the things that Rally is doing that affect it? What are the things that Elon Musk, who won't shut the fuck up, is doing to affect it? All those types of things. So it's like, who's speaking about what? Who's talking about what? In the meantime, I'm just trying to do what I always do, which is grow my brand and produce great content. And if I can continue to do that, well, the people who have bought my tokens will, probably do a little well there, which is how I look at it. But again, I find the worst thing that can happen is that people invest in something or get involved in something, and then that's all they look at and all they think about for
Right.
the rest of their lives, right?
Right.
Which will totally screw you. And the key is, I learned this lesson when I worked at AOL. If you went to keyword and typed in AOL, it would bring you your stock price, right? The AOL stock price. And this was back when we all had options. Probably hitting that thing 400 times a day, right? It's not moving that much. It's a long-term game. Is how I look at it anyway. And so I learned that early. And so I put it in, and my job is not to increase or decrease the value of Shank Coin. My job is to continue to create great content and do great deals with companies and get my name out there and improve what I'm doing and benefit people. And by default, that will benefit the Shank Coin and benefit crypto as a whole and benefit Rally as a whole. But I think too many people look at, how can I increase my value? Increase your worth. People say, how can I increase my worth? Increase the value of the content you give out. What a lot of people don't realize, especially about these tokens that are, the concept of a creator economy, right? People don't realize that, and I've been trying to explain this since day one. I tell this to all my clients where I speak about, consumer, the minds behind the consumer and customer experience.
Sure.
Having an audience of any kind is a privilege. It's not a right. No one has the right to an audience. No one in the world has the right to an audience. We have the privilege, or we have the right to create great content, which hopefully can build us an audience. But having an audience is a privilege. You create great content, you continue to earn that privilege, right? My mom was director of performing arts for the city school system in New York City growing up, public school. And she always talked about how music education was a birthright, not a privilege. This is the exact opposite, right? We don't have the right to an audience. We have the privilege of creating great content, which will give us that audience. If we screw up and they go away, we lose that audience. And I think more companies need to understand that. It's not about increasing your worth. It's about creating better value for the people who are helping to drive your economy, helping to drive your coin, your NFT, your token, whatever it is, right? Create great content, create stuff that people want to see, create stuff that your audience understands and appreciates, and that will help drive everything.
So when you're building great content, when you're building your brand, there still comes the question that people will get lost in the dollar amount, right? A lot of creators might get lost in that. And I think you're preaching to the choir here, one, but you're preaching facts, because these tokens should be driven by something more than just a price, right? Its underlying value is the people, is the content, like you said. But go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I think that a lot of the value that people don't necessarily realize about these tokens, especially the ones on Rally for the creator economy, is the concept of access. I get all the time, hey, can I pick your brain about something? Hey, can I do this? Hey, can I do that? I'm usually happy to do it, right? Now I have this option of, okay, you know what? Yes, you can. Go buy 25 tokens, become a coin holder, right? It's not that expensive. It's actually relatively cheap right now, right? Become a coin holder, and let's see what creates. Let's see what we can do. Now you're a viable part of this group, right? Now you have an influence in what happens to my economy. Go get it. So, when someone, I used to talk about this when I ran HARO, I would create, or Help Reporter, I'd create surveys every month and say, hey, are we doing this the right way, or should we do it this way, or change it this way? And anyone who replied, the more people that replied one way, we'd change it. And then the people who saw the change, my God, they listened to what I asked them to do. They became invested in what I was building, right? Because they helped design whatever it was, right? Whatever change they helped make. It's, saying that you're invested in my economy now is actually, it's funny because it's the truth. You are invested, literally invested, but there's also the investment that you believe in what I'm creating and you believe in my value. If no one believes in my value, it's a pointless conversation. Right. You're wasting your time talking to someone if no one believes in that value. So the premise of being able to create something solid and something good that people see value in is more important to me than the concept of the price of the coin, or the price of the token. So if I can create value and then return that to people by saying, hey, you have 25 coins, you're a coin holder, come hang out with me, right? Come backstage. It's a backstage pass essentially, right? You want to chat about this? You want to go for a workout? I'm training for the Ironman in Kona, Hawaii right now, because I'm really stupid, and it's in October, and I got like 4.5, 5 months left. I'm gonna die, but I'm training. I'm out there every day, and so that I'm also a single dad who has my kid the majority of the time, so that severely limits the time I have to do anything else, right? So you want to meet me? You want to chat with me? Great. Meet me outside. We're going for a run, right? Or we're going to go for a bike ride, or we're going to go for a Peloton class, and I'll take you for a cup of coffee afterwards. But, now you have an easier way to get there, right? Now you can say, okay, hey, I'm a shank holder, a coin holder. Can I get some time with you? By all means, we'll figure out a way to do it. And so it's that access level, I think, is super important that not enough people think about.
100%. And that's what I tell everyone. Social tokens equal access, or at least right now with how people are using them. But that could also work the other way around. When you have these token holders that want your time, they want your energy, and they think they're able to get that now because they hold your tokens, it could work both ways, right? It could work really well and you incentivize really good behavior, but then you're going to have the bad actors. How do you kind of approach those bad actors? What have you thought about that? Has that happened to you already?
It hasn't happened to me yet, but you know what? Here's how I look at it. I've been telling people that they can get to me, they can get access to me since I had any kind of a following, right? 2003, 2004. During that time, maybe I've been approached by 5 people who have less than positive intentions. That's 5 people out of hundreds of thousands that I've met, spoken to, keynoted for, been on TV in front of. I don't do Fox News anymore just because I can't in good conscience. But back when I did Fox, I got the majority of them from there, right? I'd go on O'Reilly and I'd get just a unbelievable, horrible tweets afterwards. But
yeah,
now it's just like, you know what? I believe the majority. Well, here's a couple of things you got to know. The first thing is you have to believe that the majority of people in the world are not out to hurt you; they're out to better themselves. And that's a huge distinction because that allows you to take the personal out of all this, right? The premise that, oh, I can't believe he did that to me. He didn't do that to you. He did that to benefit himself. It happened across you, right? Just this morning, I was walking the dog back from the dog park, and I was crossing the street, and I passed some woman who was, I guess, on her phone and didn't see me, and there's plenty of room. It was like 2 feet in between. She's like, "Excuse me." I'm like, "Okay, we had plenty of room. We're not going to do this, And I just kept. This is New York City. I just kept walking. She's like, "You are so rude." I'm like, "All right." I stopped, and I wanted to have this conversation. I didn't. I just kept walking. But I'm like, I wanted to be like, "Do you really think that I started my day? I woke up this morning. I'm like, I'm gonna find some chick and just mess with her. Like,
right.
Is my life that boring where I have nothing else to do? That's how I'm gonna. No, it's a sidewalk in Manhattan. Shit happens, right? And so you have to sort of understand that, and also you have to understand that you can't control people. All you can do is control your reaction to what people do, right? And so once you learn that, it's not always easy, but it's a lot easier to be able to understand sort of how you can get through things without having to, like I said, take them personally or let them drive you crazy. I remember my ex-wife and I had a great conversation once. We're still very close friends, and she was over one day to drop off my daughter, and she said, "Oh, I had the worst day." And she tells me this one story. I looked at her. I'm like, "So that was what happened?" She's like, "Yeah." And it just ruined my whole day. I'm like, "Was it really this terrible day, or was it 15 minutes that you've managed to milk into like 12 hours?"
Yeah.
And I think only ex-husbands can say that to their ex-wives. Like, that's because that's how you, I guess, become an ex-husband. But it was the premise that I was 100% where she's like, you're right. And we just gotta let the shit go. So in terms of bad actors, it hasn't really affected me, especially not yet on Rally. There are bad people everywhere, but there are good people everywhere too. And I'm just a believer that there's more good than bad out there. A lot more good than bad.
Sure. What's up, guys? Really quick, just want to shout out our amazing sponsors who are helping make Season 1 a reality. Season 1 welcomes Coinvise, where you can create a personal or community-owned social token on Ethereum. Coinvise also helps you create incentives through token rewards and bounties, NFT business models, and bot integrations for Discord. Go check him out at coinvise.co. Season 1 welcomes POAP, P-O-A-P, short for Proof of Attendance Protocol, which enables a novel way of creating one's life diary. Leveraging NFT tech, POAP facilitates an easy way to mint non-fungible tokens related to meaningful events. It's frequently used in crypto-native communities And now it's starting to create NFT collectors in the mainstream too. They are hiring for roles like biz dev, key account management, and operations. You can apply by visiting adamlevy.io/POAP. That's POAP. All right, back to the episode. When you were kind of putting this token together and Rally reached out to you, what were some of the biggest questions or concerns you had for them as a newcomer?
Yeah, I mean, my first thought was, okay, they want to give me this token. Do I have to buy a whole bunch of computers and mine this shit? I mean, I didn't know how any of that was going to work, right? And so they were really forthcoming, and I learned so much so quickly from them about what to do and how to do it. And that just made life so much easier because I'm like, all right, all I have to do is do what I always do, which is promote my brand, right? Create good content and share that content. And now there's a new way to do that. And that really sort of made things so much easier, so much easier. You just didn't have to think about it.
So did you approach a lawyer at all with doing this? No?
No. I did talk to, I happened to have dinner with my lawyer and I was mentioning it to him. He's like, oh, that sounds fun. So
yeah,
wasn't really that bad.
I think it stays fun because it's coming from the point of view, from a legal at least standpoint of membership and loyalty points kind of thing, right? And rewarding fans or incentivizing fans to become greater stakeholders in someone's quote unquote economy, someone's quote unquote influence to an extent, and providing access, like you said.
And again, I mean, I'm the first person to go in there and say, look, this isn't financial advice. You know, I'm not selling stock here. You know, I'm just sharing it. I give away so many. The nice thing about Rally, what I love about Rally, is how easy it is to earn additional Rally coins, right? So every week with the rewards system they have set up, as long as I continue to grow my audience and grow my coin, I continue to get rewarded with Rally, which then I can then convert into more Shank, which then I can give away. So I've given away thousands of dollars worth of Shank coin, like a lot. When it first launched, I remember giving it to a bunch of people, and it was really cheap, and it started blowing up, and they came back and they're like, holy crap, I just happened to look at how much this is worth. I'm like, okay, great. Don't think about that, though. Think about continuing to stay in the whatever, in the mindset and the whole thing.
Sure. A common keyword that you kind of see appear in crypto, and I'm not sure how familiar you are. I know you've been buying Bitcoin early on, you sold, you bought Litecoin, etc. But a common keyword in crypto is governance. So a lot of these tokens that people hold, at least with more traditional DeFi projects or other crypto projects, that one token equals one voting right. And if you hold enough tokens, you can actually make quite the impact on the project's destiny. Do you envision, like, at some point integrating more of that point of view into Shank, where your fans, your audience, they hold Shank token, you're building a greater brand around yourself that continues to grow, continues to prosper, and now they can actually have a say in the future of Peter Shankman to an extent?
Yeah.
Do you see that kind of developing?
I love that idea. When I was running HARO, I used to ask all the time. I'd be so busy writing the HAROs that I'd be like, okay, I haven't eaten. I'd tweet out, what should I have? What kind of food should I have? And all the people are like, dude, you're trying to be healthy. Order a salad. And the other like, fucking order a pizza. But I mean, I love the concept of. Sorry, ADHD just kicked in. That's a G6 flying really, really low. Which I live on 42nd Street and 9th Avenue, and there's literally a G6 flying really low over 9th Avenue, which it probably shouldn't be, but I'm sure it's fine. Sorry. Governance. I think that I love to listen to people's advice. I love to get people's info in terms of what they're thinking about, where the next thing should be, what should I focus on. There's a great line from a song. It said, listen to everyone, but be careful whose advice you take. And I've always been a believer in that. You know, I want to learn as much as I can from everyone. Everyone you meet knows something that you don't. Right? And I don't think enough people remember that. I think that being able to learn from other people by giving them access to you. You know, one of the biggest problems is that as a society, we don't listen as well as we should. We tend to listen to someone else just so we can get to a spot where they've stopped talking, so we can start talking about ourselves again.
Sure.
And I find that one of the funny things about ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, is the hyperactivity part can actually be controlled. And I can sit there and listen. And one of the most valuable lessons I've learned is to, when I'm on a plane, right, and I travel all the time, when I'm on a plane, if you're next to me, if you're in the seat next to me, unless you fake your death, I'm gonna know everything about you by the time we land.
You're that
And
guy. I'm like, I
I'm
come
not
to
the
my
guy
seat.
talking. I'm not the guy talking. I'm the guy listening.
Okay.
You're not gonna know anything about me. I'm gonna listen to everything you have to say. And once in 2 minutes, you're gonna start getting comfortable with everything I have to say, and you're gonna be like, oh wow, yeah, I'll keep talking. He's what a really good listener. I'm not a good listener. I'm listening to you because I want to learn about you. And what wound up happening over years is that I wound up putting that together as a database. I know everyone. And reporters started calling me, hey, Peter, who do you know? I'm doing a story on blah, blah, blah. Who do you know? Oh, yeah, I met this guy. Call this guy. HARO was born from that.
Yeah.
Right? So I think the ability to listen to an audience is great. And if people are invested enough in me to the point where they think I'm valuable enough to buy coins, and then they want to give me advice or talk to me about something, chances are that's a win-win for everyone. I'll give you another example. I am at Peter Shankman on every single social media platform out there. And the reason I am is because for the past 15 years, with the exception of last year in COVID, both my parents were teachers when I started doing all this, and they've since retired, but I asked them to give me some of their children, some of their students every day, or like once every 3 months on a Saturday. And I'd meet these kids, age ranges from like 9 to like 21. And I'd take over a pizza place in Midtown, and I'd invite these kids and their parents, and the parents would sit on the other side so they wouldn't bother the kids. And I'd just feed the kids pizza, and I would listen to them for like 3 hours. And I'd say, I'm just here. Just talk amongst yourselves. Take out your phones. Feel free to. And I'd watch them, and I'd occasionally think, what app is that? Oh, it's a new one called Snapchat. Oh, wow, I should write that down, right? I got my username on every single, I was on Snapchat, God, in 2014. I don't even remember when it came out, right?
Yeah.
But light years before everyone else. Same thing with TikTok, which was Musical.ly before that. All these things that just because I like listening and learning. I remember being on a plane once, and I was sitting next to I was in the front of the bus. It was me and this older woman, and her two daughters were on the other side, on the other side of the cabin. I was in 1A and the one was in B, and then these kids were in like D&E. And I said to the mother, I'm like, do you mind if I switch with you so I can ask them questions? I spent 5 hours learning from these two high school kids about what was important, about these graphic programs that I don't remember the name of it now, but there was an app that all the kids read, like all this stuff, right? Why wouldn't you do that if you're given the shot? Why wouldn't you take that opportunity to learn?
I think that's part of the process of being an early adopter, which kind of correlates to why you're such an early user for all these social tokens and whatnot. But you create a lot of utility for yourself, a lot of value for yourself and others without tokens already, right? For example, you gave the perfect example of reporters hitting you up. Who do I reach out to? I'm writing this story in X, Y, and Z. Can you connect me with blah, blah, blah? Right now, do you kind of see yourself adding that level of utility, like you want me to connect you with someone, buy my token?
Yeah.
Do you see yourself telling reporters that?
I don't necessarily doing it that way. No, I still, at the end of the day, because here's the thing: if you have to force someone to do something, then it's all about what can I get out of it. And I never want to do that. I get stuff out. I give away in about 3 minutes. I have an email going out automatically that I wrote this morning. I send my stuff out. I give away 99.9% of my content for free because I know that the 0.01% of my content that I still have, you're going to buy. And you're going to spend money on it. And so I don't see a day where I ever tell reporters, oh, you want to go buy this. That's not who I am. But rather, I would say, hey, if this has been useful, feel free to grab a few coins. Maybe they'll go up in value, maybe they won't, but whatever. It'll give you access to more of this stuff. But, you can always call me when you need me. So it's sort of running that fine line, right? I don't ever want to be that guy who says, oh, you have to pay me for this or whatever. It's also the reason that I allow my assistant to book all my speeches. When it comes down to how much I'm going to charge, I let her do it because I've done this before. I have way underpriced myself because they seem nice, let me cut them a break. They're not cutting anyone a break. Why should I cut them a break? I'm the one people are coming to see.
Yeah,
so yeah, it's that.
Got you.
It's that. You gotta learn that. So yeah, I definitely let Megan handle that. But I'm telling you to stop chewing on this stuff. But at the end of the day, again, it really comes down to knowing what the right thing is to do and knowing what benefits my audience. right? And
Right.
how I can put that together.
Yeah. So talk to me more about this utility that you envision benefiting your audience. What kind of like access have you planned? Is that still in the works? Like, talk to me more about the utility.
So I have a book called, I have 5 books, but one of them is called Zombie Loyalists. And it was a really, really beneficial, people called it like the customer service Bible, right? And I wrote it in 2000, I think it came out in 15. The rights got reverted to me in early 2021. And so now I am going to redo the book and update it for, post-COVID customer experience
Sure.
world. But in doing that, anyone who is a coin holder of over 30 coins, and I'm going to self-publish it this time. It was published by Paul Gray McMillan last time, but this time I'm going to self-publish it. Anyone who owns over 30 coins is going to get a copy for free,
Hmm.
right? And so there's an easy sell, right? Who wouldn't want that, right? It's beneficial, it'll help you, whatever. So it's those kind of things that I imagine doing.
So 30 coins right now, that would be, so if, let's say your token's trading at what, around $4, that'd be like $120 for the book, but it'd be a long-term incentive to continue participating in the Peter Shankman
Of course,
community and
because
brand.
plus you're not
Right.
buying the tokens to get the book. You're buying the tokens for all the other stuff you're going to get as well as the book.
Right. So can you talk to me more about that other stuff? So the book is a beautiful example. I think that's actually a very unique kind of approach to doing it. What else did you kind of have in mind?
What else am I doing? So I'm definitely doing things where, if I'm in your city, let me buy you a cup of coffee, right? If I'm in your city on a keynote, let me buy you a cup of coffee. Let's go for a run. Let's work out. Whatever it is. Are you in New York? Come as my guest to Equinox. Let's work out there. Let's go for a
Yeah.
Peloton ride, whatever. And it's stuff that I would do in a lot of ways for free. But sorry, he found the one squeaky toy. But now it gives people a way to really connect and have it's not just like, oh, if I have the time, it's like, hey, you bought this toy, you bought this token, let's make this happen.
I hear you. What about this? Because I feel like some listeners will be thinking, okay, they bought the tokens, they got access to the book, they got access to all these perks, but then they sell it once they get it. How do you control that?
If that is what they want to do, by all means, they have every right to do it. I don't necessarily believe that's going to happen because I believe that it would benefit them to hold on as I bring more stuff to them. Right. As I create more, I've back in the day, back when I was running HARO, I would throw events. I'd just go, I'd find a, I remember I had a friend who did handle PR for Ted's Montana Grill. And there was one in Midtown, and I would once a month, I'd just take it over. And I'd put a message out on HARO, hey guys, whoever's in town, come have a drink on me.
Yeah.
Right. And we just take over so I fully intend to keep doing that in different cities when I'm on the road. Once the world is starting to open now again, post COVID. Once that happens, yeah, by all means, I'm gonna be in Dubai in mid. I'm gonna be in South Africa in early July and then Dubai in mid July, both for work. Anyone who's out there wants to hang out, let's schedule something. Go grab a couple of tokens and come on, I'll buy you lunch.
Nice. Maybe I'll just have to meet you there and do that myself.
Yeah, why not,
when you think, I guess, let's talk 5 years from now, 10 years from now, assuming a lot of creators or this new generation of creators are going to be launching themselves on the public markets, quote unquote, creating incentives for the audience to get more ingrained and become more intimate with their brand by creating more intimate and personalized experiences. Right now, we kind of determine influence as a society, or at least a lot of people, through how many followers you have, how many subscribers you have.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think people will start determining one's influence based off what their token price is trading at? For example, this person's trading at $5, but they're not as good because this person's token is trading at $100, right? Rather than associating their influence with millions of followers per se.
It's a really good question. Problem is that we are a society with a very short attention span. And so when you give people the opportunity to attach a number to something, it works for them because they don't necessarily want to do the homework to find more. It's why for a small period of time that website Clout was so successful.
Yeah.
Remember Clout? Oh, he's a 94, he's a 91, he's a 38. It was a way to qualify and quantify. Problem wasn't very accurate. And what the hell did it mean? Right? Oh, I can get a better room at the Bellagio. I think that will always be those people who we're always a society that's going to want to work on numbers. The people I want to hang out with are the people who see past that, who see beyond that, who see that there's more to that. Definitely.
So do you think we're gonna get to that Black Mirror type of situation? Because
I know
I would
exactly
prefer
which one you're
that
talking
too,
about.
right? Because I prefer that too. Obviously, you got to find the quality in people, right? And if people are just clout chasing or token chasing, right, based off value, obviously that's one type of human being versus another, right? Not categorizing you that,
Right.
obviously, but I'm saying in general, right? Because these social tokens, it's a social experiment. The closest thing we have to that right now with a public stock market is BitClout, right? Where
Yep.
people are trading other people's influence based off what they tweet, their interactions with each other. And Rally's kind of like the less aggressive version of that by incentivizing more utility behind these tokens. But in general, you'll be having public markets of people and communities that are going to be publicly traded.
But you know what's
It's
interesting? It's nothing new. Back in 1998, there was a website called Hollywood Stock Exchange, right? Which is literally the exact same thing. You could buy. It wasn't real money at the time, but you could buy puts and calls on what actors you thought were going to be successful, what movies you thought were going to be successful. It was a huge thing. It was eventually acquired by I think by Internet Movie Database. So it's one of those things where that's nothing new. I mean, we've been assigning value to things for years. We've been putting money on things for centuries. Look at go back to ancient Rome. People would have speaking podiums on the corner where they would talk and they would try to explain their points. And Plato and Socrates used to do this all the time, or Socrates, as it were, used to do this all the time. And based on how many people understood him, determined how much bigger he got, right? And the crazy thing is that back then he had actually dumbed down his thoughts, right? Because if he talked in traditional philosophical way, no one would understand it. But again, it's not a surprise, and it's not a coincidence that these guys became hugely famous,
right.
right? So that's nothing new. I think that with any luck, this helps democratize that a little more. I remember back when verified accounts came out, and everyone was clamoring over, "Oh my God, verified account! I need a blue check mark! I need a blue check mark!"
Right.
So I've had the blue check mark. I'm pretty sure it's never gotten me a date. Right? I'm pretty sure it's never gotten me an upgraded car. I don't know, but I just don't look at it like that. Again, my job isn't so much to care about that shit. My job is to get great content. It's to create great content and make people happy.
Right. And I only bring that up because it's fun to speculate. It's fun to to think about what this may unfold to. And there is a large group of people that do like kind of depend on influence based off follower count, subscriber counts, et cetera, et cetera. And this might just be the next thing that kind of falls in line with that.
Yeah.
But we'll see how that plays out. Kind of like a final question over here. If there's a new creator, right, an up and coming, whether they be Gen Z, millennial, what advice can you kind of give them? Like what is something you wish you would have known prior to launching Shank?
That there are still certain states where now I think if I learn anything, it would be that, again, it's nothing new. It's the same thing I've known for years, in that things don't happen overnight. Even the things that look like they happen overnight take 20 years, right? Nothing happens overnight. And so the premise, dog's been really quiet. You okay? Okay. The premise of creating something, work really hard at it and it will come, but it's not going to be very few overnights. Everyone's like, oh, HARO only took 3 years. No, HARO took 20 years of me talking to every goddamn person next to me on the seat and on the airplane and everywhere, where I made their name, where I created their name, and then I had built this Rolodex. That's what built HARO, right? So it took 3 years to actually start the company and sell it, but that was 17 years in the process. So I think that, again, just good things take time.
Amazing. You mentioned something about state in the beginning, and then you kind of
it was a different thought. I was going to go into a long diatribe. It's not worth it. No, just the premise that it's a lot of what happens is a state of mind, right? Where you are in terms of what you're building. Oh, I'd love to. What's my coin? Wow, it's up 33 cents from where it was. My entire profile. It's a ridiculous way to think.
Yeah.
Right. And check it every once in a while, but live your life.
Yeah. I love it. Peter, you're the man. Thank you for being on. And I hope to have you again soon. You're always welcome, man. Thank you.
Anytime. Good timing there, Adam. Happy to do it. Stay in touch.
See you, man.